A few years ago, my sister recorded a cover of the song All Eyes on Me by Bo Burnham from his Netflix special Inside. After she was done recording that song, she wanted me to make a music video for her. And at that time, I was interested in working on something kind of minimalistic. Today, we're going to look back at that video and kind of look over what worked, what were my stylistic inspirations, why we shot it the way that we did. So let's get started. So when I was making this video, I was watching a lot of Wong Kar-wai movies because I had just recently bought the box set during COVID of his 10 film box set, I believe it was, that Criterion put out. And I was watching them and I just thought he made movies that were so textured and interesting looking, but at the same time they weren't particularly expensive either. They were pretty affordable movies. And I liked how it was complicated and minimalist at the same time. So it was a really interesting way to tell a story. And I wanted to kind of emulate that, as well as my other inspirations in Asian cinema, Korean cinema, Japanese cinema, and kind of put it into this music video. So as you see, we're gonna pause it right here, pause. As you can see, there's kind of this abstract going on with colors and light streaks. And the way that that was done was that I shot one shot, which is the close-up of my sister, and we shot that at, I think it was 1/10 to 1/15 on the shutter. And then we shot B-roll, which was driving around with me pointing the camera handheld out the window to get the light streaks and the kind of city texture, and then overlaid them. This is how this look was achieved, and then some coloring and some halation and film effects to kind of just give it more texture. Letterboxed it in the 2:3:5 aspect ratio and put some subtitles on it because that kind of just gave it that feeling of a foreign film, the Wong Kar-wai look. It just kind of added it together. So what's really interesting about this video is that we shot it in downtown Dayton, Ohio, which is where I was living at the time. And anyone who's been to downtown Dayton, Ohio knows that the city of Dayton is not particularly that interesting looking. It's kind of dark. There's not a lot of lights. There's not a lot of vibrancy and energy. And I thought it'd be interesting to try to make it look interesting. So by doing the slower shutter effect, I feel that it kind of brought the texture of the city, even though it's small, alive, because it really kind of made those lights pop, and the abstraction of the details just kind of made for an interesting aesthetic. So actually, even though it looks like it's just two shots overlaid each other, they are two angles, but only the most interesting looking parts were used for each of the two shots as they're overlaid on top of each other. So most of it is done with crossfades that are pretty much hidden just because of the nature of the way it was shot, and the kind of abstraction of the shutter effect kind of hides those crossfades. So it does kind of look like it's just two continuous shots put on top of each other, but it's actually the highlights of those shots, because the B-roll out the window sometimes was really boring because it might have just been trees or something until we turned onto another block where we get the kind of brick and architecture and the lights. And the city isn't particularly as interesting as a vibrant neon lit Hong Kong that you would see in Wong Kar-wai films. So the way that we did that was basically, it just so happened that this was in January, just after Christmas when we shot it. And we were able to utilize the fact that they left the Christmas lights up downtown to give it at least a little more color, and really focused on the main streets and the kind of the bar areas of downtown that have the most vibrancy, and then highlight those so that way they pop a little bit more. But there's no actual real point to the video. It's more of a vibe or kind of a lyric video, since the lyrics are coming up as subtitles, but it's kind of more just a vibe, an aesthetic video. Wanted to evoke a feeling with minimal like cinematic language, which I thought would be an interesting challenge, making it kind of this very minimalistic look that just looks good, and it doesn't really do anything else other than that. Maybe just evokes a feeling, and hopefully that feeling is representative of what the song is. So that's what I think is kind of interesting about music videos in general, is you don't really have to adhere to the strict formulas and the strict strategies that cinema language is. You can kind of just do things that just look cool, and that's kind of really freeing. And I'm really happy with how this music video turned out, honestly. Oh, I forgot a small little story. So to get the close-up of my sister in my car, I didn't really have a rig or a suction cup mount for the interior to mount the camera. We just used a normal tripod, the same one I'm using right now. And it's kind of a bigger tripod. There's really not that much space in a passenger seat of a car. So I got it all worked out. I had to awkwardly hunch down into like the leg area of the car and hold down on the tripod with all my weight. I couldn't even see the monitor on the camera. I just set it up prior and then held all my weight down on it to minimize those micro jitters, to kind of just like lock it into the movement of the car. It's really just the director holding onto a tripod blind in the footwell of a car while your friend's driving around, which is also illegal, I might add, because I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so, you know, what are you gonna do? But again, it's just interesting, it being one of the few projects that kind of goes from concept to final product, and it ends up being what you want it to be. So I knew I was going to be editing on this computer. So I actually shot the music video in 1080p HD. I think it was the 422 codec for like the colors, but it was just standard HD, no 4K, nothing like that. I also knew that because of the way it was going to be done, it would be 2 video pieces layered on top of each other with effects throughout it to give it the like filmic look that I wanted. These can kind of be demanding on a system, and so I tried to minimize my headaches in post-production, knowing what limited computer power I'm working with. So with that being said, I do think that it's important to keep in mind what your post-production looks like while you're in production, so that way you don't shoot something that you literally can't cut, or maybe you don't have the resources or budget to work within. 1080p looks great still. There's no issues with it. You can still shoot HD and it looks fine, looks good. You do not have to shoot 4K all the time. You don't have to shoot log all the time. You can shoot 1080p HD. It's smaller files, a little easier on less powerful computers, and then you can cut through it. But truly, I mean, I don't think that the fact that it was shot in 1080p really affects the end result. It's a good video. I think it turned out really well, and I really kind of like the aesthetic and I like the colors, and it was a fun video to work on. It's one of the rare times where a video actually is consistent from concept to final, that it represents exactly what the initial idea was. And a lot of music videos, which I'm sure we'll probably look at some point as I continue to do these videos, we will see that not all music videos end up like that. Often there's a lot of compromises and a lot of mistakes and problems, especially when you're more amateur or less experienced. You might run into those issues, and trying to plan ahead to remove those possible roadblocks is always best, but every production doesn't go according to plan. So that's just how it is. That's the creative process, but it's up to you as the creative to bend with that, to be able to adapt to the ongoing issues that you'll run into, because that ultimately is what creativity is. It's not what you can imagine, it's how you can react when the things that you imagine don't exactly go according to plan. I appreciate you watching this video, and thank you for listening to me ramble about a video that I made.